From using a 3D printer to print your own food, to living in a smart home, to the end of calling 911. These have all been identified in Ericsson's Hot Consumer Trends Report for 2016. I'm joined by the company's head of research, Dr. Michael Bjorn. And Dr. Bjorn, before we get into some of the specifics, it seems that pretty much every future trend you see begins with the internet.
Yes, that's true. If you look over time, I mean, we have been doing research, consumer research, for as long as 20 years. And if you go back a while, there were trends about everything. But these days, everything seems to be incorporating the internet in some form or other.
So one of these trends is that artificial intelligence will eventually replace the screen on your smartphone. How will that work?
Well, if you think about the fact that as soon as you want to do anything on the internet these days, you seem to pick out your smartphone and fiddle around on the screen with your finger. Now, if you would have an artificial interface, such as a voice interface or something like that, maybe you could just talk to it instead. And we're, of course, already seeing the beginnings of that with the current generation of smartphones, where you can have internet search, or you can get travel guidance, or things like that. But it doesn't stop there. People are seeing that they would be interested in having a medical advisor, for example, or even a financial advisor. In fact, 1 in 3 even would like to have an AI as a companion to keep them company. So this is going to change a lot, of course. And when we ask people about the future of the smartphone, actually half of the people we talked to said that within 5 years, the smartphone could potentially be a thing of the past.
Wow. Meantime, we're also going to be living in smart homes, it looks like.
Well, I think we have been talking about smartphones for quite some time, actually. But one of the pieces of research we did in that, we uncovered the fact that people do see this a bit of a problem. You know, you have your home and then you're going to sort of superimpose some kind of a smart structure on top of that. And then you need to think about who's going to be the supplier and the integrator and all these kinds of things. So what if actually smart homes were sort of built in from the start? And it turns out that 55% of the smartphone owners that we talk to, they believe that this will happen within the next few years, and that you will have then the ability to have sensors in the walls and the bricks, so to speak, of your home that can find construction errors, mold, electricity issue, water, and so on and so forth. Actually, those kinds of technologies are already there. Have you seen this little? I have a little device here. It's not from my company, so it's just a small box. Can you see it?
I see it, yep.
This is a sense. Yeah, it's got a battery in there. It's one of those coin batteries. This can contain up to 8 different sensors that do all of those things. It's very cheap, and it runs 6 years on the battery with internet connection, actually, via Bluetooth. And you can sprinkle those in the concrete when you make your home, or have them in the insulation or whatever, you know. So this is potentially actually going to happen sooner than we think.
Another one that might be maybe more far off is this idea about we're all going to have 3D printers at home and it can print almost anything we need.
Well, I think there's a lot of talk about virtual reality overall, and what we're seeing is that although people are interested in, for example, watching TV that unfolds all around them and so on and so forth, I think it's more of these things that actually get down to everyday life situations that is going to be really important. So maybe you could have a 3D printer, for example, to print those things that always tend to break in your home, you know, that little plastic hinge on your coffee grinder and so on and so forth. And then when we asked about these things, we also realized that as many as 44% actually would be interested in printing their own food, or at least nutritional supplements.
And quickly, before we let you go,
as well.
One other finding you had is that the actual act of calling 911 in emergency might give way in the future to using social media.
Yes, if you think about, well, at least in our global research, we see that actually already today, more people are using messaging functionality than actually calling on the phone. So we will have more and more people who are kind of used to social media and chats and these kinds of things. And maybe, you know, in a stressful situation, they will not even know what number to call, even though it's fairly easy if you think about it. But then, so the idea then would be that social networks could fill this role. Already here, I'm in New York City right now, actually the 311 number, which is then for sort of city services that are not about emergency, you can already interface via Twitter. So what we're seeing is that consumers are actually expecting this also to move into the emergency areas. And if you think about disasters and these kinds of things, 6 out of 10 would be interested in having an app that could help them get verified and rumor-free information when there is a disaster happening of some sort.
Dr. Bjorn, great to talk to you a little bit about some of the future trends you're seeing. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm Rhonda Schaffler for The Street.